you then decide to start your own business? Because that was about after 10 years being an employee, the 8 officer.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I opened my business in environmental solutions in 2016. And if you remember where we initially started, I said my first job was in 2005. I graduated in 2005 and I started my internship in December 2005. So when I was opening then the business, I had that collected 10 years experience in the field, as we were saying. So what really made me to start the business, well, I think it was mainly two things. One was I wanted freedom in terms of time management. I wanted to be able to manage my time, free, especially as a new mom, and I was a mother to 3 kids at that time.
Yes.
And my youngest was very small. So I felt the need, that I need to manage my time. And then also there was a gap. I identified a gap throughout the years, in the industry, in that we will find that there are small companies that are coming into the harbor that was to provide a service to the harbor, but for them to be able to provide that service, the environmental department did say, please do an environmental management plan, because whatever that you're going to be doing here, we want to make sure that you know what are the environmental risks associated with it and how you be able to manage those. So there will be environmental management plans that are required, waste management plans, biodiversity management plans, and a lot of, there was a lot, in fact, there still is a lot of requirements. In terms of the legislation as well, it's also the legislation that requires those things that they must be in place. So I realized that the small businesses that wanted to do a business with the state-owned enterprise are having a challenge, in terms of complying to those requirements. And it did not make sense for them to employ a full-time environmental specialist. So that's where then environmental consultants come in, where, for example, we would then deal with those small companies. They say, for example, they want to come into the harbor and hand the manganese, or hand the coal in the harbor. So we know there's going to be environmental risks associated with that. But before the ports give them a license that you can do this, one of the key documents that they must produce is an environmental plan saying that, okay, I know what are my environmental risks, and these are the things that I'm going to put in place to ensure that I comply to the environmental legislation and also I protect the environment in which I'm going to the created plan. So those were the gaps that I identified and the gaps that we are currently.
Yes. Yeah, no, I see the logic of it. But the harbor was a good springboard for you. Yes, they had a good overview of what was happening in the field, and we thought, I'm going to manage my time. But you are a good time. You manage it a good time,
Yes.
No.
Yeah. I am.
I have heard in the aspect that we are now talking about the requirements and legal requirements, all the red tape that is connected to doing something properly. I have heard that in your industry, the big money, and there is big money to be made, that it is made with these environmental impact assessments. Now, I don't know what is all implied there, but somebody told me that it is not an easy road to travel to specialize with providing. Yes. Why is it not an easy road to travel? What are the difficulties or the obstacles there?
Okay, so it's with the EIAs, as you say, is one of the tools that as environmentalists use in order to ensure that whatever the development is going to be undertaken is done in a way that the environment is protected, it was not degraded. So there is a piece of legislation which is called National Environmental Management Act, which requires that for certain developments, you must undertake a BIA and we must get a permit. So you do the EIA processes. Yeah, we do the EIA process, and then once that process is then completed, the Department of Environmental Affairs, then DFFE now, will review it and say, okay, is they approve or not approve. So if they approve, then you get that permit that, okay, we can now go ahead. So there are certain activities that you can't undertake out that permit. If you undertake them, then it might be imprisoned, or we might be fined due to the tune of millions. So yes, EIA is one of the pillars in the environmental space in terms of protecting the environment, in terms of compliance, and also because there is a lot of time that is spent doing them, and also a lot of expertise that Boeing Kibili. Yes, it generates quite some good every day. But there are challenges. One of the challenges is also the registration. The registrations process are quite complex, because you have to be registered as a EEC, and you call it an EEC means environmental assessment practitioner. So it's quite a long process. Back in the days, it stretches over a long time. Back in the days, it was not a requirement to register. To be fair, if you are qualified, you've got the qualifications and also the experience that you could practice. But now, over the past few years, then the department introduced the registration. So yes, it is quite time consuming to undertake that process. It is a long process, and then also in terms of now where we are registered, we need to use the actual BIEs. It's also a process that is also takes some time. It can take 12 months. It can take 24 months. Yeah, it's quite depending on the type of project that you apply in the BIE. You're doing BIE for.
Oh, that means your business has to have a very long financial elastic to be able to cover this.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, but thanks for explaining that, I can see that, it's not for everybody to be able to run this business. Your business is on the mat. It is surviving. You have staff.
Yes.
I assume you also have that project-based, contract-based setup for your business. With its typical roller coaster, the projects are in, we work, the projects are finished, we ever had to do marketing, find the next ones, and so on. Yeah, I think we can identify, I certainly can identify with all of that. When you're lazy, you can't do marketing.
Yes,
Then it's always a challenge. How? But also, your staff is hired on a project base, I take it. How have you been dealing with the typical problems that we have? Unfortunately, some of the problems quite a bit around this year, and I hear it from other businesses that the absenteeism is a very difficult one to handle. Also, drinking is a very difficult one to handle. Have you been lucky with your employees, or do you also have to once in a while really be stern and cold in the labor law?
No, we've had some challenges. We've had some challenges in terms of managing, staff. Yes, as we're saying, the issue of absenteeism. We've had that, and also the issue of substance abuse. And most of the time we find that where we were fortunate to get contracts, most of our clients have a zero tolerance on substance abuse or alcohol. Even just come to work under the influence, So what we do is that our employees, before they start working, we take them through what we call induction training. So there's an induction training that they go to on the 𝐄𝐧𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐿 premises, and then there's an environmental induction training where we then explain the rules. That one of the key things here I've said is we cannot tolerate absenteeism, and also substance abuse. We cannot also tolerate substance abuse or is someone coming on site under the influence of alcohol or drugs, because the South, it's a risky. It's risky, especially now. If it's a risky on its own. It's now even compounded where you are intoxicated. So So I would share with my employees that these are the things that the company does not tolerate, and these are the consequences. Should someone be found, intoxicated with, these are the consequences. So I've had to, because I'm an environmental specialist, I'm not an HR specialist, so it was a bit of a challenge, especially at the beginning. So what I've done is outsource. So for those challenges, I outsourced. There is an organization called CISA. So I outsourced to CISA, and then they assisted me then and my staff when they were in terms of compliance with the labor laws and educating the staff, the requirements, and also having those disciplinary processes and procedures in place. Because as a small business, you need to make sure that you have the procedures in place and the employees are aware, because should something happen, we don't want to dismiss an employee without following the right legislation, because then you find yourself at CCNA, when you find yourself maybe losing cases, and you find your business also at the reputational damage. Yes, those are the things that we want to guide against. So those are the challenges that we have had, but I can see that there is great improvement.
Yeah, I am sure that induction program is not election. Yes, and that maybe your employees also appreciate that they know exactly what is going on here, what they cannot get away with. Yes, yeah. I was yesterday talking to somebody who has a similar size business but in a completely different industry. And he was saying, looking after all these people issues is like a second family. So yeah, it's hands full for you, Hades. It's hands on, and I really admire you. I think you manage because you are actually a very good planner. You shared that to me, but I fully trust that the 3 children, the other family, and then the unpredictability of what is going on in our business environment, because it is not a stable environment at this point in time. But knowing that you are this busy woman, this is maybe now to round off our interview gradually. This is now maybe not a very intelligent question. I was going to ask, have you got some spare time for some of your other interests? Because I am sure you have other interests besides your work. Is there any space in your life for anything more?
Yeah, maybe you have to make the space. Yes, it's quite a challenge, because you find that your days are packed with the business, the employees on site, the client, the client requirements. Because at the same time, you have to make sure that your client is happy, because client is keen. So there's that, and there's the children. My youngest is 4-year-old, so it's quite busy. But I do make time. I think I do make time. I think it's very important to make time for hobbies. So one of the things that I'm passionate about is this actual cooking. Yes, yeah. So my family is also very passionate on that. So yeah, I love cooking. I think at some point, couple of years ago, I actually alongside the environmental consulting business, I also opened a catering business. Yes, that's my big living. Yeah, I actually opened them almost at the same time in 2016. Yeah, but then I found that I think the timing was not good. And also, yeah, there was a lot of challenges that I encountered. It was also a new space, unlike the environmental business, because it's something that you grew into a space, though, and been doing it for years. So this one was a new thing. It was a new passion. I actually also and studied and qualified to be a chef as well. Well, let's all hope for small invitations. It, it that's my other question. There is, because the cooking, I think is something that I'm looking to in the future, to see how we go to nature that into also, a business alongside the environmental consultant business that I'm doing.
There is obviously a link if you talk about healthy food.
Yes.
Because if we see what is our food is being processed and produced, maybe a whole new scope for you to say,
Yes.
clean environment is healthy food, is healthy people.
Yes, that's true.
That's your vision is still unfolding, and it was big to begin with, but I think you are a prime example of how when you set out with a big vision and with determination, quite a few things succeed and succeed very well. So it's good setting us this example.
Yeah.
All of that with having to practice English.
Yeah, where you
And I know from my own experience, you have to stop somewhere speaking another language. There is always other people. It's their native language.
Yes.
We can't get up to their level or not easily, and especially in a scientific environment. It is a challenge. Well, you have taken your challenges so far, and I must say, I wish you all the very best for whatever we're still doing to do.
I'm sure we're gonna hear more of you as it should be. Thank you, Nomkhitha. Thank you. That is so much talk. And thank you.